One of the things that I get asked all the time is, what does the fever mean? How high is too high? If it's this high, does it mean that you're sick? And here's the bad thing. How high your fever is does not correspond to how sick you are. You can't say that at 104, I'm going to be sicker than if I had just had a temperature of 101. It doesn't work that way. Our body is responding to something. So a fever is our body's response to the illness, and we all do that different. Kids tend to have higher fevers than adults do. So even though an adult might be much sicker, have a much serious illness, they might have a temperature of 101. A kid with a common cold that's really young might just have a temperature that's like 99, or might be 103, might be 104 and still just be a common cold. People want that reassurance. They want, well, if it's just a temperature of 101, then it must be okay. If it's a temperature of 104, then that must mean it's something serious. It doesn't work that way. What you have to do is you have to look at what other symptoms you have and what the story is. So a temperature of 103 that begins with a cough and cold on the same day is actually much less worrisome than a temperature of 101 that happened after you've been sick for 3 or 4 days. So the type of illness that you have does not correspond with the height of the fever. It really doesn't tell us anything at all. Now, we don't consider it a real fever unless it's above 100.4 because of that 2 standard deviations above normal. But it doesn't tell us what's wrong with you. The thing that's probably disconcerting to you that I'm going to tell you is the sickest kids that I've ever had did not have high fevers. In fact, often with meningitis, they just had temperatures maybe up to 101 because their body was too sick to mount an appropriate immune response. So they couldn't even have a high fever. So you look at the story. And a lot of times when I say you look, I mean you probably need to talk to your doctor, especially when you have young kids, and ask them what's going on. Tell them the story. It's the story that tells us whether we need to be worried about that. It's the other symptoms that go along with the fever. When is the fever happening? How long have you been sick? That tells us a lot more than just the height of the fever. Of course, it'd be great and easy if you have a temperature of 101, you just have a cold. If you have a temperature of 102, it means you have strep throat. If it's 103, you have pneumonia. It doesn't work that way. So don't put too much value on the height of the fever. Just know if you have a fever, then you're sick. And if your kid looks really sick, then it's time to call the doctor.